Last year, people wanted Alabama into the playoff over SMU. By the way, that was the SEC not getting its way, and a 4-4, 2-2, 1+3 format or anything like it would have guaranteed, yes, that SMU got in the playoff, but also that Alabama got in the playoff, meaning losses to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, which were, by any stretch of the imagination, embarrassing for the Crimson Tide, would not have mattered, and they still would have had a chance to make the playoff. That's just not a college football world that I think is better. It isn't. I would like those losses to matter. Sue me. SMU fans might do so metaphorically in the comment section with what I'm about to say. I can't pick them to go back to the playoff next year for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, their schedule is just significantly tougher. Significantly tougher than it was last year. Did you know that SMU has a sneaky game against a team that has one of the most interesting non-conference slates in the entire country? The Baylor Bears over there in the Big 12, who last I had checked are the odds-on favorites. They're tied to be the odds-on favorite to win the Big 12, which is kind of crazy. But alas, here we are. I mean, they played very well down the second half of last season. They bring a lot back. Sawyer Robertson at quarterback, Dave Aranda. Not like he is unfamiliar with how to win as a head coach. I can see it. The wild, wacky Big 12 is going to have its one of its conference favorites play both Auburn and SMU. Same season. Go Baylor. Go Baylor. I'm not rooting for Baylor to win either of those games. I'm just glad they're playing the games. I'm just happy about it. So SMU opening with East Texas A&M will be a nice 1-0 start. And then Gerald J. Ford Stadium will see the Baylor Bears roll through from Waco. That's not going to be an easy game to win. Remember, SMU got into the playoff last year because they were 11-1 going into the conference championship game. And I thought they should have been rewarded for that. I am glad that they were. I am very glad that they were. The schedule was not as difficult as what they are about to undergo. And in particular, I don't love the slate of road games they have to deal with because they don't just have Baylor, they've also got TCU. So the whole premise, unless SMU is going to go out and win the ACC this year, which, I mean, they could. Kevin Jennings is back at quarterback. He is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in all of college football because he went for over 3,200 yards last year, 65% completion, 23 touchdowns. He needs to cut down on the 11 interceptions. But this is not a guy who gets talked about in the same breath as DJ Lagway or Garrett Nussmeier or Cade Klubnik or Drew Aller or any of these other guys. He is incredibly productive. If he had transferred this year, I'm sure he had some offers. I'm sure there were teams that poked around on the ability or on his availability. But he ultimately stays with SMU. Turns out they've got plenty of NIL among the richest collectives in all of college football, which I don't begrudge them for. I applaud them for caring because they want to win. This schedule, though, they remind me a lot of Indiana. I still think they're a good team. They could be fun for a little while. I just don't have the confidence when you undergo a schedule shift, the likes of which these two programs are going to see this year, that suddenly you're going to just go and have the same record you did last season, which is kind of how you got into the playoff. And I think that's a good thing because I want the results to matter for teams in a Power 4 conference. So SMU hosts Baylor week 2. They go at TCU September 20th. If they lose either of those games, their chances of being an at-large are slim to none. They would probably have to run the table in the regular season. They're not going to do that. They have to play Syracuse, sneaky tough game. They have to play at Clemson, who beat them in the conference championship game. And Clemson this year is going to be a decently popular preseason national title pick with good reason. Now, SMU could go to Clemson, South Carolina and win. Saw Louisville do it last year. Speaking of Louisville, they have to play them on November 22nd as well. At least they get them at home. But there's also a game against Miami in here and Carson Beck. And then don't sleep on either one of these games. They are upset specials galore. At Boston College, November 8th. Rivalry week, for whatever reason, maybe because they came into the conference together, they go at Cal. Crazy, wild, unexpected, nightmarish, horrible things can happen at Memorial Stadium. That's just a fact of life, okay? So SMU, if they go 9-3, by the way, their preseason win total, according to our friends at FanDuel, is 8.5. So if they slightly outperform those expectations, they're not going back to the playoff. They have to have a 10-2 regular season. They might have to win the ACC. I do not see them running it back and going 11-1. Now, they brought in a bevy of transfers, 20 to be exact, good for the 41st ranked class in all of college football this year. They also signed a 5-star offensive tackle in Dramod Odoms. But I just don't know how a school that has the 78th most returning production at 53% from last year, how are you not only playing at the same level but elevate? I don't know. Maybe I have too much of a 30,000-foot view of it. But SMU and Indiana, great stories, deserving playoff teams last year. Prime regression candidates. The schedules are just so incredibly different. I mean, quite frankly, SMU sneakily has one of the toughest schedules, top to bottom, if you factor in the non-conference, in the entire ACC. Miami's conference slate is weird because they go bye at FSU bye and then 7 straight games, and the last 2 are on the road. But SMU having a pair of Big 12 teams who are both respectable at the very least. If SMU starts the season 4-0, you'll hear me shift my tune. But my expectation for the Mustangs, whose post-spring S&P Plus rating, it's ESPN's metrics for recent history, recruiting, and returning production, all kind of blended together by Bill Connolly, got SMU at 20th in the country. I think that's slightly overvalued. I really do. We see these teams pop up. You think about Washington, for instance, in the national championship game. Now, they lost a lot more, but we could all see from afar. TCU from a few years ago. You kind of see from afar, get the sense, yeah, it was a great story, a really, really good season. Don't know if they're right back there. Go prove me wrong, SMU. Go ahead. Record predictions on this show probably start sometime in July. I could be leaning the SMU under 8.5 because the schedule, I'm not going to pick them to lose every big game they play. But Baylor at TCU, at Clemson, and then at Boston College and at Cal, while tossing in Louisville and Miami. I mean, you have 3 teams on your schedule in the conference slate that can go win the league. 3 of them. You go 2-1 there, and suddenly you're on thin ice to make the playoff unless you win the ACC and get the automatic bid. So, every year in the NFL, you hear sports shows like Colin Cowherd talk about which team that made the playoffs last year is not making it this year. SMU and Indiana are on my list. I don't think either one winds up in the college football playoff this season.